Welcome to the CS Week Marketplace webinar series. CS Week Marketplace offers fresh perspectives and strategies presented monthly by knowledge specialists from the Conference 39 Platinum and Gold sponsors. I am John Sild and I'm with CS Week, and I'll be your moderator today, along with Anamika Gupta from Cognizant, who will facilitate our question and answer session. Please mark your calendars. CS Week and Conference 40 will be held from April 25th through the 29th in 2016 at the wonderful Phoenix Convention Center, Phoenix, Arizona. Watch your email and our social media channels for registration information this fall. This program will be recorded and available for playback, along with other archive presentations. You will find it under the Educational Venues tab, third Tuesday and Thursday webinar link on our website later this afternoon. Attendees are encouraged to upload questions to the Q&A panel as they arise. However, all questions will be held until after the presentation for the Q&A segment. Please ensure that you address your questions to the all panelists so that we may see them. Today's webinar is Digital Transformation in a Customer Service for Utilities, presented by Cognizant and P&M Resource. Our presenters today, Stewart Houck is Senior IT Manager at P&M Resource, responsible for P&M Customer Service IT applications. He has been with the company in support of customer service since 2003. For the past 3 years, he has been the lead technical manager for P&M Customer Experience Program. George Sayer is Senior Director at Cognizant. George has over 30 years of experience in utility management and utility consulting. He specializes in complex integration of business process and enabling technologies and is considered an expert in the areas of business support, enterprise asset management, and customer service. We also have with us today Sanju Nair. He is a senior manager at Cognizant. His focus is on the power utility sector within Cognizant Business Consulting Group. He specializes in customer service, asset management, and smart grid. Sanju has over 14 years of industry experience, including operation and maintenance of captive facilities and working with various global leaders. His consulting experience includes designing multiple asset management solutions for network and T&D assets, designing a strategic roadmap for smart grid integration, and revamping customer service process. I want to welcome George to begin our presentation.
Thank you, John. Again, my name is George Sayer. I'm a Senior Director at Cognizant Technologies. I will go through the agenda first, and then I'll go through some of the content with you. I will then hand off the presentation to Sanju Nair, who will go through the survey results with you, and then we will finish up with Stewart Houck from PNMR, and he'll talk to you about some real-life experience that he's had in this area. Okay, so we're on the agenda. First thing that we're going to do is give you a little bit of an overview of our company and our utilities division. Reason for doing that is we want to understand why we're interested in the subject and why we undertook this survey. Next thing that we'll talk about is just some content or some context around digital transformation in utilities, some of the things that are going on today, some of the things that are going on in utilities in general, and some of the things that are going on in the customer service area specifically. Okay, then we'll talk about the survey findings and recommendations, and again, we'll end up with the P&M overview. Okay, a little bit about Cognizant Technologies. Our company was formed in 1994, and it was actually a spin-off from a company called Dun & Bradstreet, which I'm sure that many of you have probably heard about. We were actually the IT services organization within Dun & Bradstreet before we were spun off into our own company. Again, that was around 1994. So we've just gone through our 20th year anniversary. We are a global business and technology services company. Our headquarters is in Teaneck, New Jersey in the U.S. We have about 211,000 employees, and we are quickly growing. We're a global company with about $10 billion in revenues, about 75 delivery centers, about 1,255 active customers, and we have about 20,000 projects. And most of our work has been done in North America. Regarding our customer base and our project ratio, we do have about 90% of our work is actually customers that come back and request additional work from us based on their experience with us in the first program. All right, a little bit about our utilities division. Our energy and utilities group within Cognizant is actually the quickest growing industry vertical that we have right now. We are led by a bunch of industry veterans, and we have about 300 utility-specific industry consultants. We are present in all major geographies, including North America, and in all energy and utility segments, including the traditional electric, water, gas, and retail utilities, as well as oil and gas. We also work and invest in newer technologies, some of what we're going to be talking about today, including renewables, distributed generation, smart technologies, including smart metering, AMI, electric vehicles, and we're presently doing some work in cities of the future with a few of our clients. We do work with the industry leaders in the utility area, including 5 of the top 10 utilities in North America, 3 of the top 10 E&U companies, and 6 in the UK, with three of the largest renewables players in the US. So with that, we'll get into some of the content around our presentation today. As you may know, the customer needs nowadays in utilities are customer satisfaction, reduction in cost, and mitigating the environmental impact of power generation and power consumption. This puts significant challenges around the market and the regulatory environment, and combining those changing environments with customer preferences and customer behaviors, utilities are rethinking their customer strategies, transforming their business models, redesigning and streamlining business processes, and building more flexible, agile, and integrated application infrastructures. And again, we're going to get into a little bit of that today. Cross-industry digital transformation experience in utility imperatives. We're going to talk a little bit about cross-industry, okay, and some of the ways that digital technologies have been implemented in some of the other industries, and the ways that those types of implementation of this technology has been viewed in utilities. Around retail is now doing pattern-based promotions, personalized loyalty programs. You know, the credit cards that get pushed on you all the time when you go to places like Home Depot and Lowe's. But they also now have a very consistent multi-channel experience. Okay, so once you're in their loyalty programs, you can access those programs through many channels. Regarding telecom went to usage-based tariffs, and they've very much simplified the way that you can change plans now with the way that their processes are used. Around airlines, okay, many of you probably have experienced new things on the airlines, particularly since 9/11, and the ways that things that you used to be able to do on an airline that for some time you weren't able to do, and now through digital technology, the airlines are making it a little bit more simple for you to do again. Things like full service check-in, and some of the new customized customer experience things that they're doing now around being able to order food, being able to choose your seat, being able to choose your class of service, being able to choose when you enter the airplane, and things like that. They're also doing proactive flight information pushes. And again, that's all using digital technology channels. The banking industry, obviously they've got many customer service channels, and they've had them for a while, so they are a very mature usage of digital technology around self-service web channels, mobile banking, and obviously the newest thing being fraud alerts, which if you've experienced, sometimes that's good and sometimes it's a real pain in the neck to get around. So what are the utilities doing around this? Well, the utilities are taking those experiences from some of those other industry verticals, and they're doing things like taking a look at distributed energy and distributed renewables, and implementing new programs like demand response around the way that customers can both view their energy source and view and select the energy consumption methods that they want. Okay. They also have significant expectations around self-service now. So customer satisfaction around product offering, which we'll talk about in detail a little bit later, cost exposure or cost to serve from equipment failures, grid stability, things like that. So we're able to take the data that we're finding through collection of the data, both through digital technology and through the back office, and now presenting it to the customer in a way that they can understand where it's come from and how it is impacting them. Okay, so what are the components of the digital transformation in utilities? Well, there's a number of different ways that digital technologies are being implemented within the utilities, and they're affecting or impacting all areas, including operations, process, employees, new product generation, and obviously the customer expectation, the customer themselves. Around operations, the integration of OT and IT for access to things like data sensors, the assets themselves, field work, is allowing the utility now to do better prediction of generation and real-time view of grid information. And again, although those are newer implementations or ways of implementing this technology, even some of those are becoming mature models nowadays. Okay, around process, we now have, with utilizing the digital technology channels, we now have seamless data sharing in an integrated environment, single view of the truth, process efficiency, and a means for further innovation. Impact to the employees themselves, we now have, or we're now showing in some cases, field collaboration and providing decision support right in somebody's hand on their mobile field device. We do have mobile field force management and new apps for efficiencies built in for the field. New products. This has given the utility a channel for putting new products and getting new product information into the hands of their customers through things like campaigns where they can show a holistic view of the market, get a holistic view of the market and customer base so that they can better identify and target new products to various segments of the customer base. The customers themselves, they're finding that they're having multi-channel self-service empowerment, okay, which allows cost reduction. One of the reasons for that is obviously if they're using these channels, they're not calling into the call center, and we get a reduction in calls. Okay, the next slide is our conceptual view of the digital utility. So what exactly does this mean? Utilizing digital equipment is not as simple as integrating it with a piece of an application or a service in the back office. You're basically going to be looking at your data flows utilizing multiple channels, and you're going to be influencing your end-to-end processes. So where does that start? Well, it starts at the different segments of the utility, which you'll see on the bottom of the slide here. Obviously, those different segments of the utilities offer up your data sources. Those data sources allow you to do your cross-department information flow, which is done through data warehousing and business intelligence and things like that. But now we've got all these other channels that we're able to present this information to the customer through. Starting from right to left, okay, we do have some of the older channels. I mean, we do actually still have people who physically walk up and want to pay their bill or want to talk about their account at a service center. We do still have the phone methods, and the phone has matured quite a bit over time, where you even have multiple channels now through the phone itself. But now we've got some of the digital channels as well, where we've got online, the ability for a customer to look at their account online, the ability for the customer to interact with the service center online, things like that. We also have smartphones and tablets, and we've got things like wearables. We've got the things like Google Glasses that we have to take a look at, or the Apple Watch now, where we might interact with some of those newer technologies to even be more innovative in our end-to-end processes. So what are the digital processes? The digital processes that we're seeing in the utilities these days are things like asset and work management through mobile field enablement, fuel management, supply chain management, obviously, being able to display products and services, doing marketing, okay, obviously customer services, and field services. Okay, so the next slide is our view of how we would deliver digital technology in the customer service area. There are a number of different things that we're looking at as far as implementing these different digital channels for customer experience, customer enablement. We do have mobile and social that we need to consider now. We also have a way now of since we're now looking at the full end-to-end process, a way of performing more end-to-end process analytics. We're also obviously displaying content through these digital channels. And probably the most important is the user experience. We are talking about customer experience in this presentation today, although we've covered some of the other areas of where digital technology is being utilized. Customer experience is probably the leading reason, though, that we wanted to talk today, and the reason that we wanted to conduct this survey. You do have to consider your branding strategy. You do have to consider how you're going to put the information out to your customer, whether you're going to put it out real time, whether or not you're going to put it out on a delayed basis. Visual design is extremely important. Personalization and content targeting. We are able now, since we're on a specific customer account, to give specific customer information and personalize that message directly to that customer. Campaign management. We talked about a way of getting products and services out to various segments of the customer base. And then the SEO and web analytics, and we've talked about that on the analytics side a bit. So as far as delivering the digital technology, there are some things that we would consider before we would go on the digital journey. We would do a maturity assessment. We would do a roadmap and transformation, which is typical in any transformation activity. We would want to understand what your customer's journey should look like. Obviously, enterprise architecture plays a large part in enabling information through digital technologies and an overall product evaluation, things that that the utilities are currently using and things that they would be expecting to be using when they would implement the technology. So with that, I wanted to go quickly through some of the content and some of the context around why we are interested in this area and why we would be interested in doing a survey of our customers, which are the utilities, okay, to understand better where the utilities are as far as implementing some of this technology. So at this point, I'm going to hand the presentation over to my colleague at Cognizant, Sanju Nair, and he will take you through the results of the survey.
Thanks a lot, George. Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Sanju Nair. I work with Cognizant's Utilities Business Consulting practice. So let's straight away get into the content we have here. So what are we talking about? So as you probably heard, from George, there are different aspects to a digital transformation, especially in this case of customer experience. So in order to get a real perspective from our customers and prospects, we partnered with 10 Energy to conduct a global survey to really understand what utilities are looking at, what are they doing, what they think will be the future. Right. So this, in the next few slides, we'll talk about what we found out from the survey. Okay. So our survey consisted of broadly six buckets of questions. That's what you see on your screen. So these 6 buckets were service automation, next-gen technologies, social media, demographics, big data, and omni-channel experience. So in the next few slides, we'll get into details of each of these, where we have, we'll talk about what we found out, what are the dominant findings in each of these areas, and additional commentary on what we think could be reasons for some of the findings, what utilities could look at, and so on. So let's straight away start with process automation. As we know, utilities have traditionally been a very operational efficiency focused setup, right? So what we found out is it was not a surprise, it was very obvious that most of the utilities have made significant progress on the area of process automation. And by process automation, we mean those front-end processes like automated alerts, bill payment, email billing, and so on, paperless billing, email billing, and so on. Right, so 74% of our customers had some kind of automated alert mechanism. 67% of our customers had email billing or paperless billing existing. Right, so needless to say, it was very apparent that significant amount of work has been done in this space by utilities. The key question here, though, was, is that enough? Is there more that we can do? Right, and what we feel is, based on the questions as well as our own experience with several utilities, is that there is still a key bit remaining, and we think that bit is end-to-end process automation. Right, what we mean by that is, so let's take a customer interaction. Right, so on, let's say this customer talking to an agent at the call center. So things are perfect. Right, but then the process breaks the moment it is out of the contact center. So what we mean is, let's say when there is an integration needed with an outage management function or a field service function, things are not so very well integrated. Right, and we also found out that the key challenges that utilities face are existing legacy technologies, challenges in making different legacy systems stock, and so on. Right, so we think that this is one area where we are going to see significant amount of attention from utilities in the coming few years. The next area that we quizzed our customers on was next-gen technologies. So loosely, wearables, augmented reality, video streaming, etc., what we classified as next-gen technologies for the purpose of this particular survey. So what we observed is utilities have progressed on some of the areas. So incidentally, we also had high-speed internet, 4G, also classified under under the next-gen umbrella. We noticed that utilities are particularly interested in the mobility space, right, which also includes the 4G internet, high-speed internet, tablets, all of that stuff. So, which actually ties back to our earlier statement that utilities are still very operational efficiency focused. Now, what utilities also, or what we gathered from the survey was that the response of the utilities towards all of these other technologies like wearables, augmented reality were pretty much muted, which means they mostly do not look at them as a high priority area to invest in. But they do look at them, they acknowledge the potential of these channels, but somewhere they think the time is not right for them to invest in this area. So the benefits that these technologies can deliver in terms of improving fieldwork productivity, facilitating faster decision making, facilitating information sharing with customers, empowering customers are all very well understood by utilities. But they somehow think it is just too early for them to invest in this area. Right. So the next bucket of questions that, or the area that we quizzed our customers was omni-channel integration. Now, omni-channel integration is not really new to utilities, or for that matter any of the other industry sector. It has been a topic which has been on CIO's priority list for some time. But what kind of really stood out was the fact that only 7.1% of the respondents said that they have seamless connectivity across channels, and an incredible 46% of the customers said that their channels are extremely varied, right? Which means that there is it's still work in progress in case of utilities. It's still unfinished business. Now, on probing further, we learned that the real challenge, there are few different challenges here. One main one has been technology constraints. So many of these customer service channels in case of utilities have grown organically over a period of time. So it's a mixed bag of different technologies belonging to different eras there. Secondly, organizational challenges, right? So again, utilities tend to be siloed, in their pursuit towards operational efficiency. They have siloed functions, which means these organizational silos are not exactly well set for creating a seamless customer experience, right? Then this leads to one, a lack of a single view of customers, and this incidentally also works in both the directions. So one is you don't have single view of customers, because of which you cannot have a seamless omni-channel experience, and the other way also, you do not have seamless connectivity between your channels, because of which you do not have single view of customer, right? So that's a major problem that several of these utilities that we spoke with suffer from, and it's actually a big problem. Now, there are few other aspects to this. So what we feel, customer segmentation is probably an often discarded, ignored area of multi-channel integration. So if, let's say you know your customer segments, you know exactly what they need, what their wants are. This intelligence actually can feed very well into an omni-channel strategy. Similarly, personalization. So George did touch upon personalization aspects earlier in the discussion, right? So this also can be a very key component of omni-channel experience, but right now it's not exactly considered as a part of creating this omni-channel experience for customers. So next in our list of topics was big data. Now, just like omnichannel, big data has been on the priority list for some time, and there are a lot of evidence out there of utilities trying to do things in the analytics space and big data space, which is what we observed in the survey findings too. About 50% of the utilities said they are doing some sort of analytics, some sort of big data, right? But it is not exactly an area where utilities feel absolutely comfortable about, an area where utilities have clear thought process existing. There were two dominant reasons that stood out from our survey. One, again, going back to our picture of siloed utilities, it's when you have data exist in various silos and when you have different organization structures governing them, bringing them all together under a big data umbrella becomes a challenge. So that's one. So the approach needed to solve such a complex problem is still one of the biggest problems that utilities are facing. And second big deterrent here is lack of a clear view of the ROI. Right, so nevertheless, it definitely requires big amount of effort from utilities, and the lack of clear ROI. Okay, I'm investing, I bring all of my data together, and I can build an analytics layer over it. But then, how do I extract ROI? How do I demonstrate ROI for it? Right, so that's something which is still not clear in case of most utilities. So some things that have changed over the last few years is the wide prevalence of smart meter data. So a lot of utilities have already went down this path. They have smart meter data which is being worked on through big data platforms. And that's where most of that 50% of utilities actually 50% of the utilities who do big data analytics actually lie. That's in the smart meter data management area. Right, but that's not all. There's actually a lot more that can be done using big data analytics. There are other areas, other non-smart meter data areas where big data analytics can be implemented. Let me just quote an example. Let's bring an example here, a non-smart meter example. Well, technically not a smart meter example, but it is actually not. It uses that data, but for a completely different reason. So that's of residential demand response programs. So this is just to demonstrate how big data can be leveraged. There are a lot of residential demand response programs out there where utilities incentivize customers for participating, excuse me, and then participating in DR events. But a big challenge and it actually costs a lot of money. They have to go through regulatory approvals before they can be implemented and so on. But a big gray area out there is utilities still do not look at customer segmentation in this particular area. They do not look at things like incentive elasticity, right? So for example, okay, I give X dollars to getting Y participation. Now, can I make it X plus 1 and get, let's say, Y plus 100 participation? Or let's say, can I use it to find out free riders on it? Or can I use it segments in my customer base who can actually add lot more value to the program, who are not those who are not participating today? Right. So there are a lot of those areas where big data analytics can be used, and leveraging big data analytics in this area hasn't actually happened big time in utilities. Most of it is directly around smart meter data management. Right. Now let's move on to the next slide, which is about demographics, and we just touched upon this part right now. So we had several questions for our customers around for the participants of this particular survey on around demographics. We wanted to find out from utilities how they look at their customer base, who do they think are the more influential one, and how do utilities think they will influence, those dominant segments will influence their customer service strategy. So we had some specific questions, and again, it was not a very big surprise, but more than 50% of our respondents said that millennials will drive a lot of customer service strategies. So now, who are these millennials? So there's no exact scientific definition, but most people agree that this is what is conventionally called Generation Y, or people who are born the mid-80s or late 90s, early 2000s. While there is no, there's no real definition there. It generally means the younger set of customers. They're tech savvy. They rely on sort of demanding customer base. They rely on technology to stay in touch, right? So they are different from the earlier set of customers that utilities used to have, who prefer picking up the phone and calling the utilities for help. So this, how is it? How and why is this significant? Now, what it means here is most utilities still rely on their old IVR call center setup for customer service, right? Now, with the emergence of this millennials as an influential customer segment, or the whole thing will need a rethink, because this is a customer segment that needs different engagement channels. They demand high personalizations, and they seek high responsiveness, and they also are characterized by a do-it-yourself DIY mentality, right? Which means utilities will need to bring in a lot more self-service. So we know that utilities already have high maturity in terms of self-service, but all of this will need a rethink, will need to be strengthened. A lot more will need to be done on the self-service side in order to engage this customer segment well. Now, if you look at it and look at the previous, what we discussed on some of the previous slides in terms of omni-channel integration, big data, right? They all tie together. Right, so in order to engage this particular customer segment, you will need much more seamless omni-channel integration. You will need a lot of analytics to engage these customers in a very intelligent manner. Then the next on our list was social media. Right, now, social media. So one good thing that emerged out of the survey is now social media is almost a hygiene factor for utilities. They don't look at it as a new thing. They don't look at it as something they can avoid doing. Most of the utilities responded had good social media presence. Right? But then the other side of the truth is that it is just presence. They are still not integrated with any of the business processes. They are not still being leveraged to connect with customers. Now, there were a few other interesting findings that we had from this. That one is about half of the utilities said they plan to have dedicated staff for social media interaction in the next couple of years. Now, another thing that we noticed is today many of the bigger utilities have dedicated social media teams. And the second observation we had that was many of those the utilities that have a dedicated social media team connected better with customers. So how social media we know is largely unstructured data. So how do we integrate? How do we bring that into core business processes? How do we make use of it or social media channels and social media data for connecting better with customers? The answer really lies at the end of that, the bottom of that slide, which is social media analytics. Now, to understand it better, let me just bring another example here. Let's think of a situation where a customer is calling a call center agent. Now, in today's world, what happens is the call center agent, the agent doesn't know who is calling, who the customer is, right? But if there is a way to harness social media data out there, right, the agent can immediately look up based on the social media chatter who this customer is, what has he tweeted about, let's say, a particular interaction with the utility, how many followers does he have, right, how many times that particular tweet has been retweeted. So sort of he establishes how influential this customer is, and the agent can quickly decipher what is a positive trend he's creating or what is a negative trend he's creating, right? And based on that, he can make split-second decisions about how to engage that customer. How does he solve his problems on priority, right? So that's really where the answers lie, and that's where we believe that a lot of investments need to go in. Now, moving over to the next slide. So we spoke about the 6 buckets of areas that we quizzed our customers on, and based on that, we have a few simple recommendations here to sum up our findings, or based on our findings. So the first one being go digital, right? So utilities, the world is getting digitized. So there is, which means the customers are getting digitized. So utilities actually need to adopt digital technologies in order to connect with the customers better. To stay relevant, going digital is a must. Next gen technologies, so those are wearables and augmented reality and so on. So these things, we know they're still being adopted. So it's still emerging, but then they are being adopted by a lot of other sectors, which means customers who interact with, let's say, a bank would expect a similar treatment from the utility. So it's only a matter of time before it happens to utilities too. Big data analytics. Now the real challenge here is the faster they get, data is getting multiplied by the minute. So the faster utilities adapt a big data strategy, the better it will be for them, right? And the trick really is to identify, let's say, a starting point, customer experience, or let's say, even as we spoke earlier, social media analytics, to have a starting point and start from there. It may not just be possible to have an enterprise-wide big data analytics strategy and do it all together. Then omnichannel and social media. Here again, the key thing here is that they have to be looked at together. As we said, customer segmentation, millennials, they are what should be driving your omnichannel strategy. So you have to look at all of those together to create that differentiating customer experience. So those were what we had to share from our summary from our survey, and I'll hand over to Stewart, who will talk about one of the exercises, one of the digital transformation engagements we did together. Right, with that, I'll hand over to Stewart. Stewart?
This is Stewart Houck. As John had mentioned at the beginning, I'm a senior IT manager at P&M Resources. I'm responsible for our customer service systems for P&M, which is a subsidiary of P&M Resources. P&M is the largest electricity provider in the state of New Mexico. We have approximately 500,000 customers. We serve areas throughout the state. Our central area is centered around Albuquerque, the Albuquerque metro area, with over half million people, up into Santa Fe, our capital, and then to outlying areas, as small as Clayton, New Mexico, with a couple 1,000 people. We're an integrated utility, so we've got generation capability, as you see, as well as T&D. In 2012, PNM gathered people from across the company, different areas, operations, IT, customer service, marketing and communications, and we began looking at what we termed customer experience. PNM at that time was not living up to what we thought was our potential as far as customer satisfaction. We knew from our benchmarking data that there were service levels that we weren't meeting. There was customer satisfaction data indicating that our customer satisfaction was low, and we needed to address that. So in the summer of 2012, we brought together a group from across the country to address the issue and held a number of workshops. Based on the output from those workshops, one of the initiatives that we began was a redesign of PNM.com, and that's the center of our online presence for PNM. The site had been deployed for quite a while. We'd actually looked at doing a redesign of the system back in 2008. The driver at that time was cost containment. This time, and we just didn't have the business case at that time to move forward to it. This time we were looking, the business driver was customer experience and customer satisfaction. We looked, and we did have the business case to move forward with it this time. Some of the reasons we needed to move forward was the visual design was completely, was very old. We had joked that we were moving into the 21st century in 2012. This was important because the way that PNM.com was seen by a large number of our customers was as an older, stodgy company, and we needed to reflect better than that. We needed to improve our customer self-service offerings. The mobile capabilities of the existing site at that time were, to put it bluntly, atrocious. It was not a system not designed, nor did it work well with mobile technology. We needed to be able to communicate with our customers better. And our PNM.com site was one way that we could do that, both in terms of marketing, branding, but also in supplying customer-specific information, such as payment reminders and outage alerts. This was all done, as I said, in the context of a larger customer experience effort. The online service is one of the cores of the redesign, was the offering of new self-service. This was to help not only meet customer expectations, as Sanju had mentioned before, this is something customers expect now, but also to help us with our cost containment. So we added some of the online services that you see up there. As Sanju had mentioned, we needed to do this in a way to maintain consistency and integration across our different channels. We looked at the framework we looked at the problem. We began with it strategically in 2012 as an outcome of the customer experience program. We began to look specifically at what we needed to do with PNM.com. People from those different areas gathered, and we discussed what we expected from the site, what we felt our customers needed. We talked about the journeys. We talked about the roadmap. We began to look at how the new site would actually interact and how customers would interact with the site. So we looked at we began developing use cases. We developed prototypes. We did wireframes. At that same time, and a lot of this was done together, at that same time we were looking at how we would deploy this content and how we would manage the content. We knew that we wanted a content management system that would allow us not only to deploy easily and in a sustainable manner to our environment, but it had to be one that could be managed by our customers, in particular our communications and marketing area. They needed to own that capability. Some of the other needs were, as I mentioned, we needed better mobile capability. We also, here in New Mexico, it's important for us to have multi-language support. We integrated, one very important aspect, as mentioned before, was integration with the other channels. There's a number of systems that we use to perform that integration. Our message, we have an enterprise messaging bus that we utilize to integrate the different systems, our customer information system, our service order management systems, our outage management system, our IVR system, account management. Those are all integrated in order that we can not only provide consistent information across those channels, but so we can get some operational leverage as well. We deployed the system after doing some pretty extensive quality assurance on systems. We did a number of different suites of testing, including usability testing, performance testing, and we even did some internally what we called a bug hunt, which was a, if you will, a crowdsourced bug hunt across the system before we deployed it out to our customers. Overall, when we had begun looking at the system, like I said, we had some data on our not only customer satisfaction in general, but also on our website. Our website at that time was actually among, in a J.D. Powers survey, among our mid-size investor-owned utilities, we ranked at the very last. We needed to, that was one measure that we were looking at, and one benchmark we were looking at. After we rolled out the site, 6 months later, we had very good improvements in our numbers. We've gone from last to actually that first measurement afterwards, 6 months afterwards, we've been ranked #1 for our customer service site. So that was a big plus. There were also other benefits, as I mentioned, the ability of the communications and marketing team to directly access and deploy content, which helped with our time to market. Generally, our ability to allow our customers to serve themselves. Here are some of the numbers we're looking at. Right now, the vast majority of our transactions are available online through pnm.com. And we're, of course, pushing our customers or providing it for them online, and so we're actually gaining the benefit of that. We're seeing the benefit of that in our call center. There's an increase, as there, a large increase in adoption of on-site. Our mobile usage is up. As a matter of fact, we're percentage-wise of numbers of customers using mobile, we're actually a little bit higher than the industry average. We've increased our paperless bill sign-up. We've also just last year deployed move-in, move-out capability, which was one of our call center's longest transactions. We've been able to deploy that online and have reduced their volume by 10%. And you'll see some, there's also a number of other capabilities as listed down here. And with that, I'll want to leave a little bit of time for questions here, so I'll turn it back over to Amber.
I think our next stop will be with Anamika, and she's going to do a couple of questions that have come in.
Okay, thank you, Anamika.
Thanks, John. There is a question for George here. George, I think the question is for you is, what should be your immediate focus for digitizing customer service, customer engagement channel, for back-end process automation? George?
I'm sorry, Anamika, I was on mute. Okay, so in any event, we talked about an assessment of the customer's digital journey, and this would come out of that assessment. However, my own particular preference is to make sure that the back office components are in place prior to enabling any customer engagement channels. What we need to remember here is that the data that you're presenting to the customer is only as good as the information that's held in the back office.
Perfect. Thanks, George. The next question, I think it's for you, Sanju. If you can take that, is, have you ever considered using next-gen technologies to facilitate IT or OT integration?
Yeah, sure, Anamika. So, yeah, I can explain that with an example here. So let's say, let's think of analytics as an enabler here, right? And if we consider smart meter data or smart grid network data as a operational system, operational technology here, right? Then analytics becomes a very good enabler for bringing this IT/OT integration. So let's say a customer, so you basically can decipher customers' usage scenario, you can decipher outage scenarios, all of that directly from the smart grid network data, right? And then you can bring that over to, let's say, a mobile app, right, which is traditionally on the IT side of things, right? And you basically can integrate, make this integration happen through analytics.
Thanks, Sanju. And Stewart, I think the next question is for you. You talked about a reduction in calls as a result of more self-serve options. Can you quantify that? I'm not sure if Stewart is on mute too. Stewart?
Oh, I'm sorry. Regarding the reduction in calls?
Yeah, the question is...
As far as quantification goes, we have measured the impact of our move-in, move-out transfer transactions. As I said, that was our biggest or longest calls, and we're right now averaging about 10%, a little over 10% of calls taken by the online, which translates to a little over 1 FT when it comes to CSR, about 1.25. The other transactions, I don't have the numbers with me.
Thanks, Stewart. Next question, I guess this will be our last question, is for you, George. What do you do if your customers are not shifting to digital and self-serve?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question, Anamika?
Yeah, sure. The question is, what do you do if customers are not shifting or they're not willing to shift to digital and self-serve?
Okay, so regarding readiness of the customer base, we did get some response in the survey around the fact that some customers were not ready to make the change. However, looking at that data that we did receive from the utilities, I was a bit surprised by the survey results. I think sometimes when responding to these types of surveys, we underestimate our customers. And Sanju talked a little bit about the millennials when he talked in his conversation or his discussion. I think there is a high expectation of the customer base out there to utilize these new digital channels. And I don't think it's going to be difficult to get the customers to use these channels.
Thanks, George. And back to you, Amber, because I think we are right against the time.
We are up against the top of the hour, and just a couple of things I want to make our attendees mindful of. We have our Conference 40 abstract submission. They are due this Friday. So this Friday, August 21st, please submit your abstract or white paper online. Also, join us September 15th for our next CS Week Marketplace webinar presented by IBM and Southern California Edison. So we look forward to seeing you all there. At that point in time, we want to thank Cognizant and P&M Resources and all our attendees for joining us today. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you in September.